Welcome everyone to the Nerd Nook. I'm your host Evan Teague. With me, like always, is a man who, despite me wanting 50% of the profit, still agreed to sign on for 5 more podcasts. Noah Bailey.
Too soon. Too soon.
And yes, today we will be starting off talking about the fact that Spider-Man, as of right now at least, is leaving the MCU. Now, this is this is honestly one of the weirdest film contracts I've ever seen ever, because the way the original Spider-Man movie, like Spider-Man Homecoming, even like Civil War and whatnot, worked is that originally Sony and Disney had a deal where Spider-Man would be in 5 MCU movies: Civil War, Homecoming, Endgame, Infinity War, and then Far From Home. And for every movie that he's in, Sony would get a little bit of the profit, but then every movie, like that's a Spider-Man movie, Far From Home and Homecoming, Sony would get 100% of the profits, but Disney would keep 100% of the merchandise, which actually merchandising is generally like more profit than the movies themselves. So really, they were still getting the better end of the deal anyway. So now that, Spider-Man's contract is up, apparently they went back to negotiating, and Disney, being the huge conglomerate corporation they are, decided we're not getting enough money from this from this transaction here. We want 50% of the movie revenue, but we're still going to keep 100% of the merchandise. So then Sony was like, well, we I don't we yeah no. Which originally, when this when this when this news first broke, I was legitimately pretty upset with Sony, because the past 5, 6 Spider-Man movies have not done well. They're really bad, really bad. Like Spider-Man 3, Amazing Spider-Man 2, Into the Spider-Verse was god tier, but we don't. I don't really say that's Sony's fault. Venom, all of those were trash. So I was thinking, like, how are they gonna take Spider-Man back from the MCU where he belongs? But now I kind of get it.
Yeah, like you think originally you look at it, you're like, oh, you're the bad guy, because that's what I was. I was like, bro,
Mhm.
Sony, you need to stop doing, because that's what I felt like. They were like, oh, now that Venom did so well, we can bring
That's
Spider-Man. Like
that's my
that's what
initial
I
thought
was
too.
thinking,
Yeah,
and I was like, you are so
you
terrible. This is
arrogant.
not gonna work.
Like,
Yeah, and then like now these others like, oh, wait a minute, I would have done that too. What the heck, Disney? Like,
and apparently it's also a part of it is also the fact that apparently Kevin Feige, according to Sony's official statement, Kevin Feige realized he doesn't have time for characters that aren't Disney's. So apparently, having to work around Spider-Man was putting a strain on him, which I
makes no
find
sense.
a little weird.
Considering that's technically your most popular character still, even
Yeah,
though it's not really.
and especially since Phase 4 is going to be lighter when it comes to movies, I would think he
Hmm.
would have more time to.
Yeah, I mean, he's like you spent the last movie building up how he's such a big part of the Avengers now, and now you're like, oh yeah, he was. Glad we got that out of the way. You don't need him anymore. I'm like,
Yeah, which
hmm.
I have a feeling this is part of the reason why Spider-Man wasn't in Phase 4, because they were still working on the contract, and they,
Hmm.
although this does mean that they still have time to bring it back in, because Phase 4 is only going to be 2 years.
Right,
Within that time,
figure
they
something
can
out.
work something out. Like, Disney, please just bite the bullet. Just give them all
You
the money.
don't need the
You don't need
money.
it. You
You
don't
don't need
need
the
it.
money. I promise you don't need it. You were going to make you've already made so much money.
I
Just
actually, yeah, to go with this discussion,
did you do
I
the math?
I have a little like list of all of the movies Disney has released this year, and like how much money each one has made. Which apparently, for some reason, somehow Disney as a whole actually didn't. make a profit this year. They were like technically in the black, no, in the technically in the red. That was mainly because of the opening of Galaxy's Edge. It wasn't as popular as they were expecting it to be, and it took a lot of investment in that. But like probably next year and the year after, it'll kind of it'll pay for itself eventually. But as of right now, they Disney as a whole didn't turn a profit this last year. But regardless, their movie industry is still doing pretty good. So
Yeah.
Captain Marvel, 1.128 billion.
Dang, that's more than I
Yeah.
thought.
Far From Home, which wasn't really their movie, but like they still wrote it. So it's like even though they didn't see any of
There's but not.
they didn't see any of this direct money, they still saw all the merchandise off this movie, which like I already said was, I think, actually worth more than the movie itself. 1.110 billion. And also Aladdin made
Mhm.
1.026 billion. Toy Story 4 just recently broke 1 billion. Lion King has already broke 1.4 billion.
Mm,
Okay.
it's a pretty good movie right there.
Okay, we'll get to that. We'll get that later. The amount of money something makes does not make it good.
This is true. This is true.
Even Dumbo made 353 million, which that at least broke even. So, although Dark Phoenix made 252 million, which kind of flopped on its face.
But I mean, who was really surprised by that? I think
Not
the
me.
actors knew going in.
Yeah. So yeah, needless to say. Oh, I forgot Endgame. That was just a measly
Highest
2.79
grossing.
billion. No big deal.
Something about highest grossing movie ever. Details.
So yeah, like you don't. And also, I have a feeling that if Disney decided to, pay Kevin Feige just a little more, maybe he could find time to, work with this character a little bit.
Find the time.
That or Disney could straight up outright buy Spider Man if they really wanted to. I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah, they could. I don't. I mean, they don't. I mean, they could just keep them. They already have the rights to them. Just keep it the way it is.
Movie rights
But
is
no,
just
but no, because greed. But it's
something
fine.
I'll never understand just how crazy movie rights and especially theme park character rights are because the way Universal Studios, the theme park is right now,
Mhm.
they have the entire half of their park dedicated to Marvel heroes, and Disney legally cannot use any of the X Men, any of the Fantastic Four, Iron Man, Thor, Captain America, Hulk. Uh, like there are a couple other Marvel characters that they legally cannot use in their theme parks because Universal has the exclusive theme park rights to them.
Theme park rights.
and then yeah, I don't even know if Disney can technically buy Spider-Man off of Sony without outright buying Sony. Like if they could have done that, why not just buy X-Men off of Fox? Why did you have to buy the entire studio? It's I,
Fox, there was multiple things they wanted, so maybe that's one. I don't know, and maybe there's something. I don't know. There's that's
I
way
mean
too
Simpsons aren't
complicated.
really that popular now, so it's definitely not that. But
No.
I just, yeah, you don't. I don't know like all the crazy intricacies when it comes to movie rights, but I feel like Disney and Sony within the next 2 years, I really hope, and I honestly think they will work something out because apparently Sony is still up for consideration or like still up for negotiating. Like they said they'll hope something will change in the time. They'll keep talking to them, but like as of right now, just Kevin Feige has too much on his plate. So so I think they'll work something out in the future. But that does mean that Sony is going to be making their own Spider-Man movies now, and they have two movies planned to be directed by the same director as Homecoming and Far From Home, which again were written by Marvel, like Disney's Marvel. They were basically written for him, So I don't know how good his Spider-Man movies can be, but having the same director, keeping Tom Holland, there it could easily be a thing where like after these movies come out, they could just be grandfathered into the MCU. That if that's a thing, I think that could be a thing.
Yeah, but
I don't think Disney would like that.
I'm just hoping they figure it out before
Yeah,
I kind of just hoping they figure it out before it gets to that point.
yeah.
Because I don't think, because again, Spider-Man is a big time character,
Mm,
a very big time character, especially when a lot of your other big time characters you just killed them in your writing,
yeah,
so or otherwise. So I think this is very integral. Like
yeah. Like
I mean, yeah, Phase 4 is gonna be good. You've got a lot of cool stuff coming. But I mean, Spider-Man is important to have.
just something feels fishy about this where like you said earlier, they spent a huge portion of Far From Home, which I love that movie, but they did spend a huge portion of that movie like making it very clear Iron Man did what he did because he knew Spider Man would stay there. Like he knew that Spider Man would be around after he's gone to take care of
Hmm.
things. I just find it a little fishy that they
Right.
built him up as like the most important Marvel character right now, but Kevin Feige doesn't want to
And
work with him.
then
That just feels I don't know, something just doesn't feel right about that.
that feels very incorrect,
Like, I don't is it
if I do say so
like
myself.
I don't want to be like a conspiracy theory nut here, but I feel like I have a feeling that there's something going on behind the scenes between both of them. Like they negotiated some kind of thing to have. Oh, but that wouldn't be beneficial to either of them. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like there's something more going on here that we can't see right now. But I think similar to the James Gunn situation where like they fired him, but like they basically told him when they fired him that like we'll we'll do some backdoor shady deals here, to keep you in the loop of things for a little while, and then hire you back like 6 months from now, so everything after it all blows over. I think something similar to that might happen here.
Yeah, just give it some time, let the fan bases rage,
Mm.
and then maybe this is all a plot just to get the fan bases riled up. Who knows?
But I don't know how that would be beneficial to Sony. Every single comment under every single Sony Twitter post
Hmm.
is just so toxic right now. So I don't know how
Well,
that
that's the
would.
thing. It might not be. Well, it might not be for Sony. It might be for Disney. They're like, okay, because they're the ones making the demands that are,
You're
they're
right.
upping the lane. So they're like, maybe we can because everyone just assumes it's Sony's fault because they
Yeah.
look like the bad guy, and no one's gonna really read the details.
Mm,
So then they're like, look, if we do this, we can force Sony into thinking, okay, everyone's gonna hate us.
mm.
So we can either bite the bullet and just appeal to their demands, or we bully our way out, and then everyone boycotts our movies and hates us forever.
Yeah. Or we
So
release our own Spider-Man movie and no one watches it because they hate us.
exactly. And I
And
think that might be what Marvel I think Disney's gonna start is
yeah.
bullying them.
And Disney is legitimately one of the most spiteful companies in all of
Hmm.
history. Like even more
Hmm.
like the way they've been handling Marvel characters recently it shows this because in the comics, um, I think back in like 2013 or 14, they were trying to negotiate similarly with Spider-Man with the X-Men characters, but Fox didn't want to give them up because they were still making trash movies. um, so so after those fell through, after they're like, we're still making Fantastic Four and X Men movies. Like we're good. We don't need them to be in your universe. Fan forced again. Apocalypse beg to differ, but they they stopped running any Fantastic Four characters and killed off most of the X Men just out of spite. So this totally feels like something Disney would do. Like specifically say, "Oh, we don't want to work with you right now. but we'll word it in a way that makes it sound like it's your fault. So that way, all the fans will
Yes,
hate you.
because everyone thinks Marvel can do no wrong. And in terms of making movies, that's not totally
Since
incorrect.
2014, ever since Guardians, which I don't love, but it's still good. Oh, actually, no. Ever since Winter Soldier, yeah, every single movie since then, even Age of Ultron, which
Bang,
I still really like,
bang, bang,
really good.
bang, bang. Either good, great, or the best movie,
I
or
mean,
the
Ant-Man and the
most
Wasp was
highest-grossing
okay.
movie.
It was fine, but still, it was
But
decent.
like, not,
It
but
was
that's okay.
enjoyable enough, I guess.
And you knew going in it wasn't supposed to be good. It was just to keep your popcorn full for the next one.
Yeah,
Like you knew this wasn't the big one. You knew
yeah,
this was just a chill.
exactly.
That's what
Yeah,
I'm
so yeah,
saying. Like,
really, Thor: The Dark World was the last just garbage Marvel movie. And like people
and
tend
that
for
was
some reason to hate on Guardians 2, which I love to pieces, like way more than the first one. But even then it wasn't bad. Like people who hate it just hate it for super arbitrary reasons. It's not like it's boring or just none of the characters are likable like Thor: The Dark World or Iron Man 2 or 3 was. So
yeah. I mean, it's been 6 years, and like they've been either good or great. So like they're doing awesome movie wise, and then it's like, oh no, Sony doesn't want to play by the rules, and now we're being forced to give up our best character. And everyone's like,
yep.
oh, Sony, why would you do that? Sony's like, whoa, 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 wait a minute
You got
here.
mad at me when I didn't. So what are you doing now?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like,
and and here's the thing, Disney, they can kind of afford to get away with this because right now, because stupid monopoly laws are getting in the way, they can't buy Sony. Also, they're a Japanese company, and Japanese companies generally don't like outside companies influencing their stuff, so they wouldn't really be able to buy them anyway. But like because of monopoly laws, they wouldn't be able to buy them because they already have control of 40% of the movie industry. So they can't go above that number. But at the same time, they they can't buy them, but they can kind of push them a little bit, with just the a big Disney shaped wrecking ball as many times as they can, because what is Sony gonna do? How are they gonna fight back, make their own movies? Disney is would specifically release a Marvel movie in the same month as Spider-Man just to say, hey, screw you, we're better.
and it
It
would
would
be
work.
it would be better, and it would make more money,
And like even if that
and they would
Spider-Man
just
movie was good,
it
it
wouldn't
wouldn't be the
matter.
same.
It would just be like, oh, we're doing a Spider-Man. Oh, really? Well, guess it's time for Avengers 5. Boom.
Wasn't even announced yet. How'd this
Wait,
happen?
wait, what? Today? You
Yeah,
like
we've
buy
been
your ticket.
secretly working on it just in case this happened.
Remember Secret Wars? Yeah, we're doing that now.
But Spider-Man's supposed to be a big deal. No, black suit.
No,
You're not
no,
allowed in this movie. No,
no,
no.
no. Sorry, sorry. It's okay. He's being
You
replaced.
missed your
It's fine.
chance, Tom Holland. Haha. But why?
I feel bad for Tom Holland. He's like, bro, I was like the biggest thing, and now like,
Yeah, I feel bad
yeah.
for Tom Holland because Tom Holland, his Spider-Man, I 100% guarantee that if the negotiations aren't fixed by the time Venom 2 comes out, Tom Holland will show up at the end credits of Venom 2. And then that'll screw everything up. Because you can't revisionist history like
No,
grandfather Venom in now because that's not anywhere in near the
no,
vision that Kevin Feige
no.
has.
Oh, that'd be so. And that would ruin. And then you can't go back from that.
Yeah. And Venom 2 is supposed
You
to come
just have
out
to.
next summer, November, like sometime like
No,
later next year. They have a year to
no,
fix this.
Disney, you can't do that to him. He has done nothing but great things and spoiled a couple movies. It
He is
wasn't that
perfect.
big a deal.
He is
He's only
perfect for
spoiled.
Spider-Man.
That's my spider. We just got
We
J.K.
just got we just
Simmons.
got Jameson won. No, Jameson literally
No,
won.
no. We just got Jameson back. I don't want. We just got J.K. Isn't that I'm like and even more mad about this
Mhm.
now because I realize no Spider-Man means no supporting characters from Spider-Man.
Mhm.
means no J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson, and I can't live in a world where that doesn't happen again.
We were this close to greatness. You were this close.
Oh my gosh.
and like and I over the honestly over the past couple of months, I've just kind of become more and more jaded, like at Disney as a whole, over just a couple of things here and there, and just this in particular really makes me just feel that they know what they're doing, and I hate it.
Mm-hmm. But it's gonna work.
It's gonna work.
Like you can't be like, well, they're doing this, but eventually it'll work. Like they can kind of do whatever they want
like
because
it's especially since Sony tried to at least tried to make it seem like it was Kevin Feige's decision, which I can't buy that. I don't understand how that makes sense. But at the same time, if Sony did back down because of the whole 50-50 split in the movies, I kind of understand that, and so Disney doesn't need that money. Like I can kind of understand Disney wanting some of the cut because they basically wrote it and produced it for them. Sony just picked the director, and that was pretty much all the influence they had in the production. Which that's arguably the most important part. But if you don't have a good story to go along with it, then the director can't really do much. But so maybe like a 25-75 cut. I feel, or just straight 100, like, or just keep the deal how you had it. That'd be.
That's what I'm saying. Like that's the thing. It's like, okay, now we're changing the deal. Like I think that's why Sony's like, wait a minute, now we had a good thing going here. You were doing great, and like the reason they're probably like, you don't need this money is because like you just made the highest grossing movie ever made.
Yeah.
You can't be. That's like, I mean, that's like someone like who hit the lottery last month, and he comes to you like, "Hey, man, where's that $20 that you owe me?"
You just
You
just made the Powerball like $1 billion. Like we don't need this.
Yeah, and you're like,
yeah, but and at the same time, it is completely reasonable for like if this is all part of Disney's mastermind scheme. Like I just said, Spider-Man: Far From Home is made $1.1 billion. So Disney easily could have the mindset of, okay, if we back down, people might see Sony as the bad guy because they might think, oh, we made $1 billion on a Spider-Man movie we didn't even make, so we can do it ourselves now. Which that, even if that didn't or didn't happen, like that's
the perception.
That's the perception a lot of people have. Like that's the original perception I had.
Yeah, me too. And I mean that's how it is, dude.
And like after the hashtag boycott Sony, hashtag started, like most people didn't look further into it.
And then Disney's like just waiting for that call. Disney's just waiting for that call from Sony. They're just like, and then like you said, not even Spider-Man's not even in Phase 4. So like that there's no way that seems planned.
Yeah, like because there's been a Spider-Man movie every 2 years. There's only 2 Marvel movies coming out in 2021. I know Doctor Strange and what was the other one? The Shang-Chi movie.
Yeah.
Whatever. No, there were 3. There's a third one. What was it? I think that's February. Then there's the. Can you look that up for me?
Yeah, I'm gonna do it.
Guy in the chair. No, Thor, obviously. Thor: Love and Thunder.
Love and Thunder.
Is Doctor Strange Doctor Strange is 2020.
No, Doctor Strange is 2021.
Okay.
Doctor Strange, Shang-Chi, Thor. Yeah, those are the 3 for 2021, and then 2022 is Black Widow and the Eternals.
Okay.
And then it's like Falcon Winter Soldier series is 2020, and then all the other series are 2021.
Loki and WandaVision is 2021.
Yeah, What If and Hawkeye.
Okay. I really hope the What If series is like, because all the other Marvel shows so far are gonna be like 6 or 8 episodes. I hope the What If series. I hope it just kind of goes for the amount of time it needs to go for, because there's a lot of crazy stories I could tell. I hope this not just Oh, Loki, you get 6 episodes. I hope it's not just like that. Which, like, I'm sure they have. If it's 6 hour-long episodes, it's basically 3 movies. But the What If series could be its own entire universe. So please do just have that go as long as it needs to go. So,
Right.
but so okay, so maybe their 2021 lineup doesn't need a Spider-Man in it, but if they wanted to, they easily could have. They could have pushed Spider-Man up in there. They could have kind of
Yeah.
reshuffle stuff around.
But I mean, Spider-Man did just have a movie, and yeah, I know it'll be 2 years by then. But I mean, one extra year won't kill anybody.
Yeah.
Especially if they're like, "Oh, sorry, we had to figure things out, but don't worry, we beat those bad guys at Sony. We got your Spider-Man back." As they're taking and pocketing more and more of the money
Mm-hmm.
they don't need. But
Yeah. I don't know. Hopefully it works out. Hopefully both companies are happy in the end. Um,
yeah, we'll see about
it's not
that.
gonna happen.
No.
Like in a way, I kind of hope this doesn't end in Disney buying Spider-Man. I feel like that would just kind of like as much as my nerd brain wants that, I just feel like at this point Disney doesn't need control over more stuff. Like their partnership is good enough as it is. They don't need to straight up buy the character. But I, I don't know.
But they're kind of I don't know, they're like using partnerships to like kind of like get
Yeah.
around the whole monopoly thing. Because it's like I don't own everything, but I work with everything, and by
Mm-hmm.
work with I mean tell them exactly what to do, how to do it, and when to do it.
Yeah.
So I
So
mean that's like,
essentially the same
uh,
way.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. They'll. I hope they figure it out. I because I really want to see more Spider-Man movies in this universe,
I do too.
and like I just don't think they would be the same without Marvel's influence. But whatever, we'll see. That's for years down the line. Hope. I mean, if it does end up working out, that'd be great. I just don't want to see another failed Spider-Man reboot. I hope. Okay, so if Sony does keep the Spider-Man license, I hope that they just essentially continue Tom Holland's Spider-Man story, just not technically in the MCU. I think that's possible because
Yeah, but
he already got over Iron Man's death, and like he's his own character now. So
But I
if he just
mean,
kind of
that'd just be hard because as much as he's been through, because I mean, you don't just go through Infinity War and then come back and like, oh yeah, none of this stuff, go
yeah.
back to friendly neighborhood stuff. Like that's one of the things like, Far From Home did different. It was like it wasn't just a Spider-Man movie. Like, oh, all right, now we're just back in, swinging New York, taking out.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're still doing world-saving level stuff. Like you don't step down from that.
Yeah, and yeah, pretty much all the characters that Sony does own, they're not really world like Morbius, Venom. This is not that level. Like Spider-Man doesn't really have any intergalactic threats like the greater Marvel
Mm-mm.
characters do.
Yeah.
Although I also really really don't want Spider-Man in these other Spider-Man less Spider-Man movies.
Oh, jeez. That would make me very unhappy.
Because Morbius is
Spider-Man.
still happening, Venom 2 is still happening, and like now that they have control over this, it's not going to take much of any time for them to put Tom Holland in a suit, or even like in like a green screen suit, just throw him in there after credit
Mm-hmm.
scene of Venom, and then you have your Spider-Man cinematic universe now.
All you need is for the symbiote just a little touch his little suit, and then after credit scene, and then oh my god,
Even though the Venom that's in this movie has no connection to Spider-Man, they'd have to because both Eddie Brock and Venom had a connection to Spider-Man and Peter
Mhm.
Parker.
That's what made Venom work.
But if Eddie
But
Brock doesn't even
again,
know Spider-Man, then it won't count. It
plus,
won't mean anything. So,
yeah, I don't, yeah, it already doesn't
and I
mean
don't trust
anything.
that writing team to fix that.
Oh, I didn't trust that writing team to begin that.
No, that is such a just bland movie. It's a hard 5. Like I couldn't budge. I wish it was worse. I wish Venom was worse. Like if I ranked it any lower, I felt that'd be too harsh. But at the same time, it's it can't go any higher because it's not good.
It can't earn any more points, but if you took any more away, it's like, is that really fair?
Is that necessary? You're already like you're bad, but you're not that bad, but you kind of are. But like I
Or
don't know.
very gray area in that department.
I don't know. Anyway, speaking of another movie that I think is a five, Lion King.
That's your official rating.
As of right this second, yes. It might
Okay.
go lower after the discussion. We'll see.
Wow.
Keep this in mind. Lion King is my all-time favorite movie. It's like tied with another like nostalgia trip movie but they're both movies that I grew up with and like love and basically can quote from memory every single bit. So like I love this movie more than I love almost anything. So keep that in mind when I just drag Lion King 2019 through the mud and then some, okay? First of all, I want to know what because you gave it like a seven in our
Yeah,
discussion. What
I
did
give
you,
it 7.
just
I look,
general thoughts?
I like it. There are some things that I don't like,
Mm,
obviously, and I know a lot of people are like, "Oh my gosh, there's no emotion with the characters," which yeah, I get that, but
mm.
also that's kind of I thought that was kind of the point of making it the live action thing because like you don't
Chronicles of
see
Narnia.
no, it's not the
The
same
line from
thing.
Chronicles of Narnia was way
That's
more
not the
fresh
same.
of 15 years ago.
But they're not no, but they're not trying to. There's a difference between trying to make it look realistic versus trying to make it like the sea. They're not doing it the same way because you have humans in that. There's not. It's not the
Hmm.
same thing. It's not.
It's not. It is bad because of
No, it's
that.
not. That's not the point.
It's the okay. Go on.
I don't
Just
think.
continue.
No,
Continue.
no.
No, I I need a 5 minute rant where I just go in at it. So I
Okay,
need to
that's
hear all
fine.
of your
That's
thoughts
fine.
first.
Okay, no, I think the cast. I think there's a really good cast. Some casting I didn't like. Someone I love Donald Glover as Simba. I think that's a very great casting. I think he did a really good job. Beyonce, not my favorite casting choice personally.
Hmm.
I think that could have been a little bit better, but it'd be like that sometimes. Generally, I don't like some they changed some of the dialogue and like you could tell obviously where the added dialogue was and how it didn't hold
Hmm.
up with what was left truth and stuff and that was annoying as well. But I think they did a good job keeping mostly to the original in terms of how it went down and everything. Some of the songs they changed up, not my best feeling about them, but it's still essentially the same movie in terms of how they got the point across and everything
Hmm.
like that. I think visually it does look really good, especially like considering realistic nature and stuff like that. And overall, I had a good time. I give it a 7.
Okay. Let me tell you the things before I just drill into it. I do have a couple of things I did legitimately like. I really liked the hyenas in this movie. I love the hyenas from original, but like I think they're still very funny. The way they interacted with each other, the way they interacted with
The
Nala and
personal
Simba.
space guy.
Yeah. Like
He's like, I need you.
I appreciated that every single joke they said was different than the original, which I felt, with Keegan Michael Key, I think was that or was it Jordan
Mm,
Peele? Okay.
I believe it
And
was Michael Q.
shoot. There was one other I never remember his name, but the whatever. Like there was some other like, you know, like big name African American comedian who I love. I can't remember his name, dang it. Whatever. But like their interactions, just I loved all those. So yeah, the hyenas I
Mhm.
felt were portrayed very well, and also I really loved the fact that in the original Lion King, one of my slight criticisms is that Scar just was portrayed as just after he took over, it was just he's evil just for the sake of being evil. Everything he did was just power hungry, crazy evil, and like that worked for the type of character that he was. But it didn't really explain how Pride Rock fell so fast. It just all of a sudden it was
Mhm.
instantly just. wasteland. But in this
Terrible.
movie, it's specified that because Scar was over hunting and like drove all the animals away and were killed more than he should have, that's what caused the ecosystem to kind of fluctuate and just go to crap.
Which makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's the one thing from the original that like I just cannot justify. So the fact that they fixed that, I like that. Now, to move on to the things that I did not love. So this movie, just as a movie, has a pacing problem. From the opening shot, I had a feeling it would just be one of those movies because the original Lion King, it opens like you have Disney presents in like a black screen for a second, and then the sun rises and like you see the savannah like appear into view. The way this and that works so well for animation. The the way this movie starts is as Disney presents, and then it cut to the savannah like at night, and it's held there for like 10 seconds, and then the sun rose, and the sun wasn't even really in focus. It was just kind of like off to the left, and it was just kind of off. Like after all that waiting, you're like, and because you've seen the Lion King before, you're waiting for the big buildup of the music starting and the sun rising, it not being the main
Hmm.
focus of the shot, and like you already seen the savannah beforehand for like way longer than you should. Just that just gave me bad vibes from the very beginning of the movie. But there are more scenes that just lasted too long. So um, after the circle of life sequence, the little mouse was scurrying around, and then it kept scurrying some more. It scurried up a little plant and then dropped off it and scurried some more. And then finally Scar came into the scene. In the original, it kind of came to the cave, and I looked around for like maybe 10 seconds, maybe, and then like Scar like attacked it. Next, probably my least favorite scene from the entire movie was when um it was right after, well, this entire sequence, but this started off bad too. But like when the hyenas are talking to each other right after Mufasa took Simba away, and they're talking, and the one the one hyena is like, if Mufasa came back, I could take him, and he's like, oh yeah, Mufasa right behind you. Mufasa turned around, and there's like, I swear it was like 15-20 second pause. It wasn't for a joke. He didn't like turn around and say Mufasa, and then Scar was just there. He didn't turn around and the other humans laugh at him. He turned around, and then you kind of saw Scar slowly walk into view. Slowly, and like you could tell it was Scar the entire time. It wasn't like any like suspense that it was Mufasa or anything. He kept slowly walking to frame, and then they started talking. There was no dramatic payoff. There was no humor payoff. It was just Mufasa. 15 seconds go by before anything happens. Next, Simba in the desert. So after Simba falls off that cliff, he's in the original. He like walks. I think there's like shows two scenes of him walking, and then he collapses. In this one, that scene drags. That literally felt like a year passed by him just walking in the desert, and then finally collapsed. In the very next scene, when he's getting attacked by the vultures look up, they turn around, and then they see like something coming on the horizon, and then they see something coming on the horizon, and then they see something coming on the horizon, which like I feel might have been a Monty Python reference, but like I don't know, it didn't really feel right for this
It's a bit
movie.
of a stretch.
Yeah, and then it showed them, charging in from the side, finally attacking the vultures. In the original, the vultures attacked, and then almost instantly you just kind of heard Timon and Pumbaa shouting, and then they came into frame. Like it was very quick, and it was funny because of that. The build up didn't lead to anything. Next, the not when Nala was trying to escape from from the Pride, which I felt you didn't need that scene. Like her showing up in the jungle, like I never questioned it. I still haven't. Like it just kind of made sense that they would send they would send someone, preferably younger who can actually, get around well out to find help. That just kind of made sense to me. You didn't need to show her escaping, but the fact they showed her escaping
I thought it was a good
and
scene.
like
I thought it was good.
it, she looked up, she saw Scar sleeping, and then she kind of like dropped, like hid behind a rock for a second, and then saw the hyenas, and then she kind of hid behind another rock, and then Scar woke up, kind of walked around, looked over there, wasn't there. She was up on top. Then Zazu flew in. They started talking a little bit, and then Scar like looked around another rock, and then he looked up, and then Zazu was there, but Nala had escaped. Like it, and what I just described, there was even more parts to it, but I felt just the you could have easily just like kind of showed her escaping without having to drag it that far. And also, it didn't even end with Zazu getting captured, which I felt was kind of important in the original. Like in this one, Zazu just kind of like just like was almost caught by Scar, then flew away. Like why not just have that be when Zazu was captured? That just felt like a really weird change to me that didn't really add anything. So there are a couple of other things here and there that I felt just kind of made the movie drag way longer than it needed to, and just kind of ruined the pacing as a whole. But so yeah, that was my first major issue with just either just like from a movie perspective, like even just as a movie, I felt that these pacing problems could be felt consistently throughout it. That kind of made it drag more than it should have.
Okay.
Okay. Um, Next, specific characters that I felt had some issues. Rafiki. Rafiki is legitimately one of my favorite animated characters of all time. Just he was in the original Lion King, he was so enthusiastic, just so like all up in Simba's face. Like his interaction with Simba was actually legitimately hilarious. Just literally everything he did was literally makes me laugh every single time I watch that movie, and none of that is present. Literally, like almost every single joke Rafiki had in the original was taken out. Which I get it's like a different take on the character, but it just, especially for this movie, which kind of has identity problem as it is, which it really really wants you to know that this is the Lion King. Like it is almost word for word the same thing, but also in some aspects tries to be a little different in ways that don't really make sense and actually make it a worse movie in my opinion. So like it just kind of it's the entire movie is just a battle between, oh, you've seen this before, and oh, we've changed a little thing here, but it's still recognizable. Yeah, because it's recognizable and you've seen the original, it feels worse. But which, speaking of which, that scene that scene where Rafiki is about to go to Pride Rock and he pulls out the staff and he says something along the lines of, "I've missed you, old friend,"
Mm-hmm.
talking to the staff, which he never used at any point throughout the movie. That him holding the staff saying, "I've missed you, old friend," is literally only there because the audience remembers him with the staff. The audience who's seen the original knows him as the monkey with the staff.
Mm-hmm.
Which like maybe there was a scene cut, or like maybe there was something from the original, like from like earlier in the movie that he was like supposed to have a staff, but they thought it would look better if he didn't have it, or and they forgot to cut this part out. Like that happens in movies sometimes. I get that, but they just that one scene in particular really just really made me realize this movie doesn't know what kind of movie it wants to be. It wants to make things different, but every chance it has to call back to the original movie, it will. But sometimes it'll make it slightly different to an annoying degree. Okay, next, Zazu. I have some issues with him, like mostly lacking emotion and humor, but John Oliver just was the perfect casting for him.
Hmm.
He like the only reason the movie is a five is because of Sasu, honestly. So Scar. Scar was in the original Lion King. Scar is one of the most hammy and just amazing villains in all of Disney. Just because just he plays up being a deranged, crazy king that like fell from grace super fast so well. Even like before, even before he becomes king, like he's super sarcastic. Just everything he says is just you just honestly you like you kind of like him just for like how he says things, just how hammy he is. And I felt like it was a new take on this character, and I'm fine with that. But they're trying to make him more like intimidating and scary, but it didn't work for me. I don't know. I just his voice was like not quite deep enough or imposing enough to really be scary, and the stuff he was saying wasn't really that intimidating or scary. And of course, because they had to use a realistic lion face, it didn't. There was no. I didn't get a sense from him from the line itself that he was trying to be intimidating or scary. It's just it was an interesting take that easily could have worked, but it just didn't work for how they portrayed him. Next, Mufasa. Of course, I love James Earl Jones. In a way, I almost kind of wish they had cast someone differently because every like almost every single line Mufasa said in this movie is word for word from the original,
Hmm.
which makes me wonder why didn't they just take the original or like repurpose the original movie's dialogue for his character if he's just gonna say the same stuff anyway. And especially since James Earl Jones is 25 years older and like is in its late 80s, he just sounds a lot. It's still he still has a cool voice, but it sounds a lot softer and it's just not right for the kind of character Mufasa is in this movie. So in a way, I kind of wish that they had casted someone differently. Like if Idris Elba hadn't already been uh, someone in Jungle Book, I kind of wish they had gotten him. But whatever. That's it for characters. Now, I know you mentioned the songs. Every single song of this movie, barring one, I had a major issue with. Circle of Life. The visuals never hit with the music. This the entire song in the original, the entire song like it basically essentially felt like a music video where like every beat from the animals, every interaction, everything happening on screen hit with the music like and looked like it was made for this song. In this one, it really felt like they made the song and they made the movie and just kind of put them together. Like in this the when the dialogue says or sorry when the song says and taking our first steps into the sun in the original, the baby giraffe is super shrouded by by shadows, and then it steps out, taking our first steps into the sun. In this one, the baby giraffe steps out like before that line starts, and it's not even that shadowy in the first. Like it's kind of shady, but not. But you that's not. You can't if you're not like looking for it, you wouldn't tell that she's in the shade. Just kind of steps out, and then it says taking your first steps into the sun. Like it you get the idea that's what they're going for, but like it didn't hit it didn't hit where it should have. One of the most frustrating scenes in the entire movie is when Rafiki is about to hold Simba up, and the music is building, and then Rafiki sits down, he holds Simba up, and then the music like builds to its climax and goes into the final chorus. In the original, it's the sir like it goes up on circle. Here it
Like
goes,
right with it, yeah.
goes up, and then it starts. It's the circle. It just didn't like that's supposed to be the most impactful scene of the movie, going into the final key changed course, and it just didn't just didn't hit
Didn't do it.
right. um, which keep in mind, the circle of life sequence in like every single I think the only trailer ever released for the original Lion King was just the circle of life sequence in its entirety. So in my own opinion, they should have done every single thing they could have to make that sequence perfect. And it just didn't quite get there for me. Next, Can't Wait to Be King. Just like in almost every song on here, there's a lot of running. There's a lot more running. And there's a lot more running. That's pretty much the entire song. It's just them running around, running around, running around. Like Zazu gets in their way every now and again. They just kind of brush them aside, run some more, and then they're running with animals, and then they're running with more animals, and then they're running by a stream, and then they're running in the watering hole. It's just there's just a lot of running, and then every single opportunity for humor that the original presented just wasn't there in this one. Like Zazu got beat up in the original, like crushed between two rhinos, like hit by a giraffe, like fell off a waterfall. And in this, Zazu just kind of played it straight, which I feel, especially since you have John Oliver as Zazu, I felt you could have delved into the humor a little more, but whatever. And speaking of that, this song was supposed to like be their plan to get away from Zazu. And at the end of the original, like all the animals fell on top of Zazu and they left with him underneath that rhino. But here, Zazu was just they like it ends with them like running up, standing on a log, and like ending, but with them just kind of singing at the screen for some reason, and then Zazu just up in the sky being chased by birds. Like that wasn't. I don't feel like that was planned. That just kind of happened. But whatever. I'm gonna skip the next one. You'll see why in a second. And go to Hakuna Matata. A lot of running and more running. That's all this song was. It was them like every emotional moment, every humor moment from the original was just taken out completely. And I know I keep referencing it back to the original a lot. I understand this. But the problem with this movie as a whole is that it begs you to do that. It it made the choice to not be its own thing. It essentially wanted you to be, hey, you remember this from the original, right? Well, this is just it in live action. So I feel justified in doing that. And also, like, there's kind of a problem with the entire movie is that it was like just kind of weirdly referential and like self-referential with the original movie, like with the Kane scene, like with um there's a couple other things here and there that just kind of took me out of it a little bit. um can you feel the love tonight? More running, because that's just how that's apparently John Favreau doesn't know how to direct animals doing things. John, can you feel the love tonight happened during the day. Explain that one.
Mm.
It happened during the day and
Yeah,
it ended during sunset.
yeah.
A song called "Can You Hear the Love Tonight" ended before the
I didn't think
sunset.
about. I didn't think about that until you brought it up. I'll be honest.
And again, they're just running around. There's no there. There's no outside of them like looking at each other after drinking out of the water, after drinking out of the stream. There's no indication that they're even falling in love. There's no emotion at all throughout the entire song. Like you can have emotion without showing it on their faces. Like have them doing things that actually would invoke, hey, they're actually getting along at least. But no, they're just running. That's all they know how to do apparently. Now, the one song I actually did really like is "In the Jungle," um, because actually forgot to mention one thing I actually liked about this movie as a whole is that I loved the little oasis that Timon and Pumbaa live in, like other animals also live there, and they're all just hippies, and I
Mm,
love it. It's like why is it just Timon and Pumbaa there? Like why aren't there other animals also
makes
hippies?
more sense that
Yeah,
way. Yeah.
especially after Scar drove away, almost every animal they would have to go somewhere, so that makes sense. So once Timon and Pumbaa start singing, and they're actually Billy Eichner apparently has an amazing singing voice, um, and then like all the other animals start joining in, and it's just beautiful, and then it gets interrupted, and that's hilarious. So yeah, that one little sequence was like the highlight of the entire movie, and it was glorious. The low light of the movie was the "be prepared" sequence.
Yeah.
Why did they even bother? It started. I already told you how it weirdly started with Scar just kind of casually, very slowly walking up with no payoff, and then like halfway through him talking to the hyenas, he started what sounded like slam poetry at them. He was just kind of like
Yeah.
speaking the song lyrics, and then randomly
Yeah.
bursting into song, and then like jumping up the rocks, and then like at the climax, they all the hyenas just kind of randomly joined in, and then they didn't laugh or anything. It just kind of ended. It's almost like they realized, hey, fans are really upset that we took this part out. We don't have a whole lot of time to fix it. But we'll
Tell them
just kind of
about.
have like a homage to it, which was worse than not having it at all. And like, I know you can't do everything that the original did in live action. I get that. Like the original "Be Prepared" sequence is like super crazy, like fog coming up everywhere, the ground splitting, like that's you can't really do that in live action, especially the more realistic take they're going for. I get that, but like it just didn't just you should have just left it out. Honestly, I would have been. I was expecting it not to be there, and then when it was kind of, I was even more upset. So anyway,
Either be all or nothing. Don't be in
yeah.
between.
Do you have any
That's
rebuttals
fair.
for anything that I complained about?
I mean, your criticisms are fair. A little much, but some most of them are fair.
Much maybe, but then again, I am coming from the fact that like I said, this is my all time favorite movie. So hey,
Right. That's why I think you like, yeah. And that's understandable because I mean, this is your movie. You're like, look.
you messed it up. Here's how.
Basically.
Although I found this weird correlation because the vast majority of the people online either hate this movie or just thought like it's fine. It's there. It's not really.
Hmm.
It there's nothing really bad about it. It's just it exists. Like I'll never see it again, but like it's whatever. There were three different Twitter accounts I saw that like legitimately loved this movie, and there was this weird correlation.
Hmm.
All three of them also really love Man of Steel. I don't
Hmm.
know. Like one of them was like, I feel like this Lion King is gonna be my new Man of Steel, where like all the critics and all the fans hate it, but I secretly love it. I'm like, that's a weird hill to die on, dude. Like, why? That's
Hmm.
weird.
That's a weird,
I don't I don't know
it's
what
a
that
weird
means.
hill to
I don't
die
know.
on.
I don't know if like there's some through line that's connecting Lion King and Man of Steel, but maybe it's the more realistic
Not
take
that
of the
I know
classic
of.
tale. I don't know, but it's just something weird I found.
Uh, mm,
Well, but yeah, if anyone did like it, more power to you. These are just from a super fan's perspective. I did not. So yeah, I'll keep it at a five.
he's
It's
not
like
happy about it.
I'm not happy. Like the casting in general was very,
A
very
five's
good.
honestly not bad. Like it.
It's worse than it should be. This is the Lion King. Only they should
I
have
mean,
only made it
yes,
if they had a
but I
purpose to
mean,
make it. and like just having realistic lions was not good enough
The
for me.
purpose was, do you know, there was a purpose, and you know what that purpose was?
Money.
That purpose was 100, or not 100, but one, yeah, how much was it?
1.4 billion
How much it
dollars.
was? No, it was like 1 billion.
1.4
Yeah,
billion.
that 1.4 billion reasons why they made that.
Like
So,
I paid for 12 of it, so I guess
like
I'm
in
part of the
terms of
problem.
just like why, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Even you had it, but guess who saw it?
I only saw it because my
No,
mom
I'm
wanted to
just
see
kidding.
it with us,
But no, I mean,
but
you had to see it.
yeah,
Everyone saw it.
I literally, I'm
You
not gonna
weren't
say
gonna go see
drug
it?
because like I,
Come
it
on,
was
you
one of
know.
those movies that like I would have only seen it if someone else wanted to see it. So like me and my brother were both kind of thinking like we don't want
Okay.
to go, but like we wouldn't want to make a day of it. But like if someone else also wanted to see it, we would go along with them. And then our mom wanted to see it
Yeah.
because she also
Okay.
she,
We'll go
she
along
also
with.
loves the movie.
Okay.
So
See, that's how. Yeah.
although I feel that's kind of how
That's how
they
I felt
made the
about Toy
1.4
Story 4,
billion
and then
because and yeah, and Toy Story etc. made all this money because the parents of these kids who love the original are dragging their kids to it, and then just movies that don't deserve to make a billion are making a billion, but whatever. Like Aladdin also for some. How did Aladdin make a billion? That just doesn't make sense to me. What about this movie in particular was just
I mean, okay, but to be fair, I mean, and we live in a world where Aquaman made $1 billion. So,
yeah. Venom did make 880 million, which is way more than it deserves.
right, right, right. That's what I'm saying. So, like,
Whatever. Whatever. It's
it's
fine.
I don't know, these days how much money something makes. Yeah, like you said earlier at the beginning, it's like the amount of money a movie makes does not determine how good the quality
Nope.
of the movie is.
Not one bit. But
Because I mean, it's got the name brand on it. No, because if it has the name brand, it'll work. People
mm,
will think, "Oh, I love this movie. Let me
yeah.
go see it."
And
And like again, with this Lion King, I don't think it was. I do think this was worth. I do think this was worth the money because yes, you don't like it, and I don't think it's great either. I do think the original's a lot better,
mm,
but it's updated for the time. The voice cast is pretty stellar,
yeah.
and it's time. It's been long enough with that one, and it fits the trend. If they were gonna make a movie that you wanted to see again, because like they're doing a lot of the bigger movies that they're remaking. They're not,
Mm,
which I was like, why? Like I originally was like, why don't we do some of the movies a lot of people didn't look into, make
yeah.
them live action, so everyone gets a fresh perspective. But they're like, no, because a lot of people, because like we're getting older. A lot of people didn't grow up with Lion King anymore.
Which is
So
sad, but yeah. Because Disney has that weird
yeah.
vault thing where like every 5 years they put a new Disney movie out and take one in the vault.
Uh-huh.
So
Mm-hmm.
so kids aren't allowed to grow up with it,
And
and
yep,
I never understood that
and they do
system. I
that,
don't know.
and they do that because when they take it out and make a remake of a movie, everyone sees it
Yeah, and
because
also we actually did buy the Blu-ray of Lion King, and which is only put out because
mm-hmm,
the remake came out.
mm-hmm.
Are they part of the problem?
Is it,
Yes. Do I care?
yes,
Also, yes, but can't do anything about it
oh
now.
yes, but will you stop? No. Would you make the same
No.
decision again? Probably.
Yes, I am definitely buying Disney Plus.
Exactly. It's all part of the plan. They know what you like and what you don't, and they plan accordingly
It
to
was honestly.
maximize their input
I, I
or
want to hang on.
income.
I want to find something real quick because there was this really creepy Twitter thread that happened the other day when Disney uh on Twitter um had like a Disney. Hang on, let me find it. Oh, Disney. No, hang on. Spell it out. Okay. Okay. So On Twitter, Disney posted a thing where it's like who's ready for who's ready for Disney Plus coming, and then literally like every single one of their brands like retweeted that like and started a thread where they like we're ready like and had little like little quips that are relevant to their franchise. Um, and it was honestly kind of creepy because you start to realize that they own almost literally
Mm-hmm.
everything.
Mm-hmm.
I can't find the thread right now, but it's like, ESPN, Star Wars, Pixar, National Geographic, Simpsons, like so many different, so many different companies were in this Twitter thread, and like it, it was so calculated, so soulless, and like I wouldn't be surprised if it was all just like the same guy just tweeting from like 20 different accounts, and just it was bizarre just seeing it all unfold throughout the day. It's like
Mm-hmm.
you own that, you own that, you all of these brands are are part
Yeah,
of
and
it. Like
like
just
and big companies, huge things.
yeah, all of Fox just like on all of their
Hmm.
characters like you had a
They
little
all serve Disney.
yeah
It's a conglomerate. It's can't be stopped.
like Netflix is gonna have a problem
Netflix
this
already has a
December.
problem.
Like they already
That's
had to
why they're
raise their
raising
prices
their.
because no one bought Netflix last year. Like yeah, 2 million people came in. Guess that's how that's so most a lot of companies just don't understand the law of diminishing returns. Or like after you hit a certain point, not as many people are available to buy it. They're
Hmm.
like there are already 100 million Netflix users, and Netflix isn't available like everywhere. So yeah, like yes, there are still some people who could buy Netflix, but not everyone has the money for that right now. So like you can't just up the price because no one's buying it. If like I don't know that, but that just seems a little sleazy to me. But whatever.
But they're trying to maximize their end profits because
And
they
I
know
and
in
I
a few
get
months
that. I
no one's
really
gonna have
do.
it.
But they they're just not seeing the underlying problem of people aren't buying you because you already upped your price once. Now you're upping it again. Now more people can't buy you or even stay with you. So this is just too much now. But I don't know. But after Disney Plus comes out with that 12.99 Disney Plus Hulu ESPN bundle, like
Hmm.
Netflix is done.
Bye. Bye. And I will be one of those people. I mean, I don't pay for Netflix now, but I
Yeah,
mean, I will be getting that Disney Plus for sure.
yeah. And like if I don't get it in November, I'm definitely getting it by the time Falcon and Winter Soldier comes out. So,
Has to be done.
mhm. Although apparently Disney is kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel a little bit with their remakes, and they are actually apparently producing a Great Mouse Detective remake,
Ooh.
which technically people cite that movie as the one that really started the golden era renaissance of Disney stuff. Like that one was the one right before Little Mermaid. So
Uh,
yeah, um,
okay, sure. That
and like
sounds
it didn't
good.
get as much love at the time, but like it kind of started the trend of better Disney movies. So
Right.
yes,
And
please.
now, yeah, it's gonna get the love it deserved the first
Mm,
time.
yeah.
Good. Good. Mhm.
Um, I didn't put them all down, but Disney also did announce that there's going to be quite a number of Fox properties that are going to be having direct to Disney Plus movies, and one of them including a new Home Alone reboot. So yeah, Home Alone.
Really?
Yeah, it's a Fox property, so why not?
Uh, 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 that doesn't. I don't like the sound of that. I
I
don't
don't know
know.
how I think about it either, but it's a thing, so we have to deal with it. I'm wondering something because the way the monopoly law in movies work is that because Disney bought Fox, less movies overall are gonna be made, just because Disney can't make every single movie out there, and all the Fox properties they either had to delay or completely scrap because they just literally could not make it because of the law. I wonder if I wonder if this streaming service will allow them to just kind of make movies and put them on their streaming service, circumventing theater. Does that count
I
under the amount
think
of
that
movies
would.
they can make? I don't know.
I don't. I'm not really sure because I think streaming kind of falls under that like direct to video kind of like
Yeah,
avenue. So I feel like that's a separate like
and
juncture.
yeah, as of right now, movies that are streamed on Netflix aren't aren't in the running for Oscars and whatnot. So
Exactly.
they can basically make any Fox reboot property or any Disney property they
Hmm.
want, just kind of throw it on Disney Plus or Hulu. Yeah.
Loophole.
Oh, it's stupid, but I love it.
But they're so brilliant, but dang it.
Ah, okay, so yeah, maybe they'll. If they do end up actually owning everything, maybe this is the way they could get around it. Like, oh, we won't put all. We'll put all. If they somehow do end up actually buying Sony, well, just theoretically, if they could, it's fine. We'll just put all of their movies on Disney Plus and Hulu. Boom, problem solved. Ah, you win. You win. You own me now, so might as well.
You own me. I mean, but in a way, we're all kind of owned by Disney. We just don't know it yet.
Yeah.
They own
Either.
something that owns us, but they didn't tell us that they owned that thing, and
Yep.
yet. Hmm.
Like it's like ever since I became a marketing major and like been through like economics and other marketing classes and whatnot, and just learning just how few companies own everything. Like, I knew that Pepsi as a company owned, Pizza Hut, KFC, and other stuff like that. But I didn't realize that well, first of all, I didn't realize that Frito Lay's was Frito Lay. Like Frito and Lay's are the same thing, and that they essentially have a monopoly on not like really, but like if you think of any snack food, probably a
Basically.
Frito like Doritos, Cheetos, Fritos and Lay's, Sun Chips, etc. Tostitos. And now they're also owned by Pepsi, so like Pepsi essentially everything that
Any
isn't a
snack
everything
you
that isn't a Coke product is probably a probably a
Pepsi
Pepsi
product.
product. It's just like everything that isn't Pringles or Coke, probably a Pepsi product. And that's just
Yeah, I mean the world's a lot.
mm,
Companies are a lot smarter than people
yeah.
realize because they will think, oh, a different brand, it's its own thing. It's
Nope.
really not.
Procter and Gamble own both Gain and Bounty. Like
What?
Procter and Gamble, if you have anything in your laundry in like your laundry room right now, probably a Procter and Gamble brand. They own it's either Crest or Colgate, but not the other. They also own Dawn detergent. Like they own I think Crest. Like they own just so many Coast soap. Like so many things in your laundry room and bathroom, and it's just I kind of wish I hadn't learned this because now I'm just looking at everything on the store, like on a store shelf, and I'm like, you're all of this is owned by two people.
It's like I'm trying to buy things to be fair to everyone, but you own
I
everything.
can't. so, so yeah, like sooner or later, if, like everything will be owned by literally five companies, and it's just the world we live in. Whatever, people
Yeah.
like money, I guess.
Yes, I do. And they don't share it with other people because that would be not great for them,
Great for us though.
apparently.
It'd be real good
Ah,
for us.
yeah, it'd be great for us. It's actually probably
Mm,
how the world should work, but
yeah,
that's a
whatever.
whole rant
Like
for
my humble
earlier.
opinion, no one should ever have over $100 million. I feel like that should be the cap, but that feels like a good amount.
Right. Like, do you really need more than that? Like,
You shouldn't. I don't like. I know movies cost 100 million plus to make nowadays, but like they don't need to. Yeah, sure, you can find ways to cut down costs. You don't have to be Robert Downey Jr.'s $76 million just a cameo for 5 minutes in Fire and Homecoming. Just saying.
God, that's a lot of money. Really? That's not
Actually, sorry, the 76 was his in-game paycheck. It was like 12. It was something with two double-digit million. It was like 12 or 20 million or something like that. But that's still too much for like five
yeah,
minutes of screen time.
yeah. I think Brad Pitt got. I think someone got like $500 or something for like his scene in Deadpool
It
2,
was
which is
like
literally like
a
half a
couple
second.
dollars and a cup of coffee.
Yeah, like it was just like, bro,
Like you
you just
literally,
did
if
it
you
for like
blink, you
what?
didn't. I don't even realize it was Brad Pitt until like I
I
saw
didn't
the
either. My
IMDb
friend
later.
told
It's
me.
like he's in Deadpool too. Oh, he was invisible for all of
Sure.
it. Okay,
How about that? He wasn't even in it yet. No speaking parts. He just
got
saw him for
zapped
a
and
half a second.
like I for the entire scene, I literally thought it was just Deadpool like holding a backpack. I didn't think it was
Yeah,
actually a character.
no, I was like, it's not a person. It's just gonna be a parachute, and then it was a person. Like, oh my god!
Yeah. So moving away from Disney for just a second. I've been meaning to talk to you about this for a while, but I just kind of forgot to bring it up last time. So you know, DC Universe's that streaming service that's still a thing for it might
Mhm.
not be for however long until HBO Max comes out. They might be grandfathered in. That might still be a thing. I don't know, but as of right now, DC Universe it's still a thing and it's still going along. And you know that Swamp Thing show that's on there.
Didn't that get shut down?
So here's the story. um, so the way the way this worked is that you know how North Carolina is like the place for movies to film stuff that isn't Georgia.
Hmm.
So apparently, the way this happened was that Swamp Thing filmed its pilot and first couple episodes here, and DC was promised $40 million in return for doing business and like filming it in North Carolina.
Hmm.
Apparently, somehow, someone messed this up so badly that apparently they were supposed to only promise them $14 million, but they forgot to they that's not even a thing where like it's four but it's supposed to be 40. No, that's the one few.
That was you heard. That was on the phone. You heard someone wrong. That's not a.
Yeah.
That's not a. I saw that wrong. That is something you heard incorrectly.
They were North Carolina originally was supposed to only give them 14 million, but after they already filmed a lot of it, they thought DC thought they'd be getting 40, but they were like, "Oh, sorry, we can only give you 14. That was a mistake." They're like, "Well, sorry, we're not filming it anymore."
And that's the it.
That's it. That's the end of it for right now.
And I think that's good because one,
Who asked for
that's a
this?
lot of money to just give. Yes, that is a ton of money. Is this really going to get any kind of profit like that? Because I don't think so.
No,
I mean, I know that's not a lot of money, but I mean,
but at the
like,
same time, they were
I mean, okay,
filming
in
on a
terms of,
budget. They had that 40 million amount in their budget somewhere. So when they only got back 14, that's 26 million they probably already used expecting to get that back, but they just didn't.
that's true. However, I feel good that my state didn't spend $40 million on one terrible series, probably.
Probably
That
knowing
two.
the DC's
Well,
universe's track record. I
like
think
okay,
outside
or even if the
Injustice.
universe's track record even was okay, like
Swamp Thing. Who asked for this?
Swamp Thing, Who? Who? I'm serious. I want to know. Like, give me like if I can find three people who legitimately were like, "Hey, I would really enjoy a Swamp Thing series. Make this
Like,
happen." If
I'm
you
sure
can
you
tell
could
me
find some. I
who
know
the
we
people
joke
are
about
to
this.
ask
I'm
for
sure
this.
you could find someone who Aquaman is their favorite character. I guarantee there is someone out there who Aquaman's their favorite character. I wager a
But
bet that
like,
like 50% of DC fans don't even know who Swamp Thing is.
that's what I'm saying. Like Swamp Thing. Swamp Thing. This is like C to
D.
D list characters at this point, and you're gonna make him the star of your series.
Yep.
You're gonna make a whole show about this D list character,
Yep.
and not any like is he getting any supporting character? Is
I,
it just Swamp?
like it'd be
What is
one thing
Swamp
if it
Thing?
was like a Justice League Dark series and he was a part of it, or if they had
That's one thing.
like a Zatanna, a
Constantine and like
Constantine shows that all come together with Swamp Thing, etc. With Justice League Dark, that'd be one thing. But this ain't it. This is just Swamp Thing.
it's just Swamp Thing. Ooh, that's a extremely hard pass from me.
So yeah, I guess it's good that we didn't, you know, accidentally give them 26 more than we meant to, but it's still just a weird story that I'm sure DC will free. I'm sure they won't, you know, they won't consider us as highly next time they want to film something. I don't know, but I don't know. I just found that fun story just so hilarious because like I'm never gonna watch this show anyway. So like,
No, no,
but at the
no,
same
no,
time, I'm
no,
kind
no.
of upset at my state for like for just someone messing up that badly. Like I said, if it was 4 million, you drop to zero. Like it happens, I'm sure all the time. But like 14, 14.
That's what I'm saying. Someone on the
Yeah, give them
phone
14,
made that
14 million.
mistake.
Give them 14 million. 40? Okay.
That's what.
Yeah,
Yeah,
40.
that's what I'm
40.
saying. It had to be on the phone. It was probably someone had a southern accent, so I
Yeah.
said 14, 40, they said
40.
14.
40.
And then, that because I mean that's not something you like see and like, oh yeah, that's 4-0. No, that's
Yeah.
it's either 1-4 or 4-0. There's no messing that up.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Way to go. Way to go, North Carolina, you did it.
Good job. Oh, so move back to Disney for just a second. Forgot to mention this. So apparently, in Rise of Skywalker, according to John Williams' brother, the score for Rise of Skywalker will be 135 minutes long and contain every single Star Wars song John Williams has ever produced.
Whoa. Whoa.
We're getting at
Really?
least a sample of Leia's theme, uh, Duel of Fates,
Imperial March,
Imperial
Duel of
March,
Fate,
Battle of the Heroes,
the
etc. Like
Battle of Endor. Basically all the good ones.
the Battle of Hoth song. Like
Yeah.
we're apparently getting at least a sample of all of that,
That's
which
a lot of
that's just
I'm fine
bonkers.
with, but that's gonna be a lot going on.
Yeah, it might be. I just hope that they don't do the episode two thing where like they have all these songs and they just
You're
throw
like
them in
nothing's
random
going on.
places.
Yeah,
Like
that's what
in
I'm
episode
kind of
one,
worried
they
about.
play. I'm pretty sure if I remember this correctly, they played Leia's theme when Anakin got the speeder working. That's
I mean,
that's not
I
what
mean,
that's for. I know you're her dad and all, but like she's not here right now, so it's not your song.
maybe it's just Anakin's theme until it's Leia's theme.
No, that's not how this works.
But it could be. No, it's not. But neither here nor there.
Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah, that's a lot
that's
of
kind of
music.
exciting, honestly.
I mean, well, it is, but also it isn't because it's like, are they gonna do it right? Because the
Yeah.
music only means so much if it's done at the wrong moment,
Mm-hmm.
Because like, oh man, the Imperial March will be great, but if I'm just, unless something intimidating or really viciously evil or cool is happening, I don't really care.
I mean, the way they've used it so far in this trilogy has, I think they've been using it very well. Like every time you see Vader's helmet, they at least play like a little bit of it in the background.
Mm-hmm.
So I think like especially if Kylo Ren just does go full evil, like I hope when he finally realizes I'm a bad guy, I'm just gonna own it. Hope they just start this Imperial March every like 10 seconds, just go.
Yeah, just like he just like have it like start blasting. He just
Mm.
casually, slowly walks up with like a ton of troopers behind. Like that would be nuts.
Mm.
That would be crazy.
The first time that song is introduced in Episode 5 is legitimately one of my favorite sequences in all of movies. Just you see all
So
the Star
epic.
Destroyers, which like they're called Star Destroyers. They're like you're impressive and like they're really big and whatnot. And you just see the shadow just slowly creep over them and just
Gigantic.
oh. With that music just oh. So good. Anyway, so next, if you didn't hear about this, I'm sure you already have. Apparently, Ewan McGregor is in heavy talks to return as Obi-Wan in the Disney Plus series. Yeah.
It happened. It's happening. It's not exactly what I wanted, but I will take it.
Yeah. Wanted a
But
movie, but
we
like the
must.
show honestly might
I
we'd
will.
probably get
I will
more
take the show.
Obi-Wan content out of this. So,
We win in the big picture.
yeah.
We still win. That's the important thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah,
Big
that's very
time.
exciting.
Yeah, it's not official. You know, there's still
I know they're still
things
in
to
talks,
figure
and like
out.
knowing the Spider-Man deal, they easily could, Kevin
Oh,
or
jeez.
Kathleen Kennedy could not find time for this character right now. But,
Chill, stop. How can you not find time for one of the most important characters in the whole thing?
yep.
Then ask Kevin Feige. Yeah, I know. But still, I walked right into that
It's like,
one.
really want
How
to
can
go
you not
down
find?
there?
How can you not find that? He's like the most popular character. You
The Will Smith meme.
know. Yeah. Yeah. So as soon as I said,
Mm,
I'm like, wait, I am digging my own grave right now.
hmm. Okay. Now, time to finally move on to Nerd Clash. Grand return. So, we've been talking quite a bit about Spider-Man, so I feel it only makes sense to pit Rhino against Bane.
Hmm.
So,
Well,
so the thing about Rhino is that in most continuities, the Rhino suit is just a suit, right?
yes,
He's not like he
yes,
isn't the Rhino. Like he puts a suit on it and it enhances him.
right. He's like the suit's like part of his body somehow, but like it's not his body's still what it is, but like
Yeah.
the suit's part of him.
And
Yeah,
he still like takes damage when he gets hit, but
right.
like
So obviously a
so
lot stronger. The
yeah.
horns, some kind. I think the horns
Hmm?
adamantium, but I'm not sure about that.
There's been an adamantium shell at some point. I almost guarantee that because
Comic books.
once Marvel introduced every single time Marvel or DC introduces a new most powerful item whatever everything just has that now and they have to produce a new one
It's
to
either
counter that
it's either adamantium, vibrant, like it's something insane.
anti adamantium because that's a thing.
Sure, because why not?
Yeah, but at the same time, well, let's just assume that he just is just a really strong metal. Like I feel if we make it adamantium, that'd be a little one sided. But let's just assume it's a very strong metal. So Rhino having the suit, I feel is actually pretty comparable to Bane injecting the venom and making him all big and strong.
Uh,
So
but
what?
Bane is a master martial artist and
Yeah,
tactician. Rhino
yeah.
is not.
Rhino is
So
a lot
that's a
more
big
like
part of it.
headstrong, just run straight into it and you
Right.
know
And
hope they'll be
yeah,
crushing.
generally one of the yeah, and generally how he's defeated is Spider-Man will like make him run at him, and he jumps behind me like, "Oh, look at that! Is that an electric fence? Oh no, don't hit that!"
Yeah,
Or like,
yeah.
or
Bane
jump.
easily.
Oh,
If so, obviously, I'm pretty sure Bane would have the superior intellect. But if it did end up being like a, like let's just like assume, just to put on an even playing field. Let's just assume like a wide open field, like no trees, no
okay,
nothing for miles.
okay.
The probably the craziest feat Bane has ever done is that even without the venom, I think this. Let's just say with the venom, but just make it the scaling make sense. He at one point one punched an elephant.
An
An elephant
elephant.
was charging at him, and he killed it with one
Cat.
punch.
Say so.
Now I know the Rhino has had some tussles with Hulk every now and again. He never wins them, but like I wouldn't say he
But
scales to the
just
Hulk, but
being on
like
that, but fighting the Hulk and not dying,
yeah.
basically. That's a
But
big part. That's a big deal.
also, so like yes, Bane having the ability to kill an elephant with one punch, I don't think that would make him stronger than a punch from the Hulk. I mean, Hulk could easily do
No.
that, and Rhino can take hits like that and not die at least. But at the same time, Bane being a luchador wrestler, he knows how to deal
Mhm.
with heavier and larger enemies.
Right.
So we'll have to take that into effect here.
That's what I'm saying. Because, I mean, if there's anything we've learned from comic books, it's that knowing how to fight is invaluable versus how strong you are.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, obviously, like, if someone, a punch from Superman, it doesn't matter who you are, it's still going to throw you through across the planet. But at the
Yeah.
same time, like, no, but Bane at least having strength, at least somewhat to scale, and having that expert fighting ability versus Rhino having
Mm.
next to none other than just being the strongest person usually. I think
Yeah.
that's gonna be his
Yeah.
downfall.
Like if they both charged at each other, Rhino would easily win because he's bigger and just
Yeah,
has more weight to him. But if they charge at each other, Bane like run get him in a chokehold and like slam him, or like he would figure out ways to kind of knock him off his feet, or so essentially, as long as Bane can keep supplying venom and keep having that like at least slight healing factor, because of course it does.
yeah, because comic books.
Yeah, as long as he can keep supplying venom and just not die from a single punch or two. Do you think Rhino would be able to realize that the obvious weak spot for Bane is the? Do you think he'd ever like notice that and actually
Probable.
act on
I
it?
think. I think he. I think he'd notice. I don't think he'd be able to do much about
Yeah,
it though, because
yeah,
Rhino's not exactly the fastest guy.
but at the same time, if even if Rhino does get rid of the venom, Bane is still a very very big tough dude. Like he's pretty formidable
Yeah,
even without the venom.
but
And
without the venom, I mean, he's not on Rhino's level in
yeah,
terms of just brute strength.
but
I mean, that's just not fair.
but at the same time, Rhino is not. He needs the big suit in order to actually do anything.
This is
Him
this is
just
true.
you know being himself isn't any superpower
Well,
at
yeah,
all.
right. But cutting Rhino off from the suit is a lot more difficult than cutting Bane off from the Venom, though. That's
Yeah.
the thing. So you literally have to like surgically remove him from the suit.
Mm, yeah. Now, like I know that Bane would use like more wrestling tactics, but I'm just trying to think what he could actually do to kill Rhino. Because I think it
Mm-hmm.
would be a fairly even fight up to a point, but if Bane is because I think Bane will be even with his active form, he would be smaller and faster. Well, he's a
Hmm.
little more agile, but even with his one punch elephant feat, that's not strong
Not gonna
enough
do it.
to.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, I think he best him in combat in general, but I don't know about if he could actually kill him.
Hmm.
Because I mean, if
Yeah,
Hulk punches won't do it, Bane punches won't either.
yeah, yeah, and like maybe Bane could like realize that the suit has like a certain amount of like power or battery life or whatever. So as long as he just kind of survive for that long, maybe he'd be able to survive. But I don't think that would be. I don't think he could survive long enough to actually outlast that, even if there is some kind of power limit.
Probably,
So,
probably not.
so yeah, even though I feel Bane is the better fighter, is more equipped to actually win. Technically, I think Rhino is just stronger and can't kill
Won't
as
necessarily
easily.
lose.
Yeah, which I think
Yeah,
that's kind of
that's the
how.
tipping point.
Yeah, like one could win, but
Fair
one
enough.
won't lose, basically. So
That's fair.
yeah, but if they were fighting like in a city, I think Bane could outsmart him easily. So.
Yeah, Bane would. Yeah, Bane would take him.
Okay, so is there anything else that you want to bring up, talk about?
Not necessarily. Not tonight. I think we covered it. But
Okay,
hopefully, Spider-Man gets figured out sooner rather than later.
that'd be great. maybe at D23 this weekend they'll just kind of hey, we fixed it. Spider-Man's back. Right?
Joke's on you guys. You
You
thought he
don't get
got
mad at
snapped
Sony for
again, didn't
nothing. Not sorry, Sony. We
you?
don't love you.
Still makes it. Sony, we know. Hey.
Okay, and with that, we'll see you all next time.